Welcome to the AWS Report. I'm Jeff Barr. Today I'm speaking with Kay Young of Mortar Data. Welcome.
Thanks, hi.
So congratulations on winning the AWS Startup Challenge.
Thank you very much.
So what was it like to be a winner?
Boy, it's a blast. I mean, when you first win, you get to stand up there and smash the server, which is in and of itself quite a thing. But then, yeah, as soon as we won, people started coming up and like, oh, here's my business card. Let's talk after. And there's been a lot of really cool follow-up. It's a real honor to win. It's a very generous award, and I think there's going to be some great outcomes.
That's great to hear. So let's start with talking a bit about what Mortar Data is and what it does.
Mortar is a platform that engineers use for processing massive amounts of data, and it really kind of decomposes into two things. On one hand, it is a open source development framework for big data pipelines backed by Hadoop. And on the other, it's a platform as a service that's available exclusively on AWS that understands how to execute those projects. And so basically what we've seen is that Hadoop is incredibly powerful and very broadly applicable, but so far it hasn't lived up to a lot of the expectations and hopes for how it would be used in real life. And a lot of the reason for that is because it's just so complex. Not just from an infrastructure perspective, not just from an engineering perspective, from every way that it could be complex, it sort of is. And so we're taking a multifaceted approach to reducing the cost, reducing the complexity, so that everybody, whether they are an individual, small company, or a large company, can make good use of these big data tools. So our mission basically is to democratize big data.
Now, do you raise the level of abstraction to make things easier, or how do you go about doing that?
We do in a way. So we use Pig, which is an existing Apache project, which is a higher level of abstraction for the engineer. And then we've extended it in some ways to make it faster and easier to work with. For example, rather than having to identify manually a set of data that you want to work with while you're doing engineering, or work with your entire big data set, which can be very slow, we can automatically sample just the subset of data that's necessary to show you the effect of everything you're going to do.
So is that kind of like a preview mode?
Yeah, it's kind of like an automatic preview mode. It's a very intelligent preview mode. And there are other things we are able to do. For example, when you have errors or problems on Hadoop, they can be spread over anywhere in the cluster. So maybe on tens or hundreds of machines, you got like SSH, go find the thing you want, come back. And so we can bring all those things together and show you where those problems are coming from and help decipher what they mean.
Okay, now what kinds of problems are people solving with this?
All kinds of things. Advertising technology, ad tech is a very classic and early adopter of Hadoop. And generally what they do is, they want to place ads that people want to see, so they click on them. But they want to optimize for that and try and get as much data from everywhere as they can to have a better profile. So you got that. You've got people working in science, so people working on genomics to try to predict how people will react to drugs, or people working on what different markers mean in terms of health risks or not risks. You've got people using it for gaming, make sure that people are having fun. You can fraud detection. You can do epidemiology, so figuring out how diseases are going to break out and when. It's all over the map. So
the folks that are going to get value from this, they'll generally come to you and say, we've got all this data, we know there's something of value buried in here, but we actually need some help finding out what's actually embedded in all this information.
Yes. Now Mortar doesn't help. We're not a services company. What we do is we offer our platform, which makes it very easy for them to find the information that they want in their data, the meaning that they want in their data. And there's two ways that we can do that. One, you can actually just use Mortar directly in the browser without installing anything. And that turns out to be very effective for people to immediately start using Hadoop with their own data, and in many cases are able to find interesting things within an hour of starting with Mortar. And that's because they know their domain so much better than us. If we give them the tools that allow them to express themselves naturally and quickly find how things work, that's going to be a lot better recipe.
Okay, now how does AWS factor into all this?
Without AWS, it would have been impossible for us to launch this company, because our customers will come to us and say, okay, I need 500 machines now. And if we didn't have public cloud, if we didn't have AWS to back that, what are we going to do? We're going to go out there and buy several thousand machines, rack them, and hope that somebody comes along and wants that. And then what about if we start scaling and doing well? What are we going to do? Go buy 10,000 machines and rack them, in advance? Totally impossible.
So your whole business is basically built on the fact that you can just say, I need X number of servers, and you get them in a few minutes and pick them up and go and
That's right.
drop
That's right.
them off
Exactly.
when you're finished.
Exactly.
Now, what parts of AWS do you use?
We use all kinds of things. So in terms of services that we use Elastic MapReduce for actually executing Hadoop. We use EC2 all over the place, for various workers and databases and things. We use SQS. We use S3. We use ELB.
Now, what is the getting started process? Like, do people generally use something like AWS import export to bring in huge amounts of data, or are they not up to that scale yet?
For people that we have not yet actually moved anybody outside of AWS into AWS to use us.
So a lot of your customers they've got data already
We're
residing
targeting
inside
people
AWS.
that already have data inside of AWS. So for the most part, that's going to be in S3 or like a Mongo database or something like that. And so the startup process is literally give us the URL, point us to where the data is, and you can use it immediately.
Interesting. So there's really almost this data ecosystem of folks that already have generated big data sets in the cloud, and you're saying you're already in the cloud, just point Mortar at it, and away we go.
Exactly, and S3 and Glacier are so effective at just taking data. People do that because they know there is value in their log data or any other type of data that sometimes they might throw away. And they're growing these huge data sets, looking for ways to use them, knowing they should be because their competitors are, and they're getting real value out of it. And it's just a matter of those people finding out about us and they can be effective very quickly.
Okay. Now, how is this product priced? How do your customers pay for it?
We do it very similar to EC2 or Elastic MapReduce, so it's by the machine hour. And there's a whole lot of the platform that you can use. I mean, everything up until the point where you want to execute at scale, you can just use for free as much as you want. And then when you say, okay, I know exactly what my code's going to do. I've run it on these automatically sampled subsets. I've seen it flow through step by step, showing me exactly what's going to happen, and I know it's going to work. The syntax is good. There's no errors. Then they say, okay, go. And okay, fire up 100 machines or whatever you need, 10 machines.
So basically free to develop and then you pay to execute is
exactly
one way to think about it.
Yeah, exactly. And it's really useful that by the time you're executing, you're actually going to get the thing you want. So you're not paying to run something at scale only to discover that it wasn't what you wanted in the first place. Yeah.
Okay. Now, where do you see this going in the next 6 to 12 months?
It's a primarily growth phase at this point. So the product is ready, and we're just finding new people, new uses, and bringing them on board.
Excellent. Well, congratulations again on winning the Startup Challenge, and wish you the best of luck for the future.
Thanks so much.
It's been my pleasure.
Mine too.
This has been the AWS Report, and I'm Jeff Barr.